You don't know how many times I forget to hit that record button. It's just silly. But anyway, so we're going to talk about investors today. There's two types, and at least two types that I'm going to address today. There's the investor who wants to buy a piece of property and rent it out. And then there's the investor that wants to do a fix and flip, right? So there's kind of two approaches when you're working with investors. And mostly if you're dealing with somebody who's got experience, they're going to know what they're looking for, what they're doing, but you kind of want to know and have an intelligent conversation with them, right? So what's involved? What are the questions that we're going to have? Actually, Ben's going to help me out today because we're working together. He's actually got an investor he's working with. Compliments. I'm going to go ahead and mute you all because I get background noise. So yeah, Ben's getting business compliments of his magnet on the side of his car, and he happened to be pulling in to a automobile sales company. Nice new wheels, by the way, Ben. And somebody looked at the magnet, and went, "Oh, you're a realtor," and he's like, "Yeah." Love at first sight. I love it. That's a good story. All right. So we're going to start with the fix and flips because that was my first question. I says, are they looking to buy and rent, hold it, or are they looking for a fix and flip? And so I'm going to do my little share screen thing here. Oh, where are you? Share my desktop. And do that. No, that's not what I want. Hold on. That's not what I wanted. Let's try that again. Share screen. Maybe I should just go ahead and open it. Really? Let's try this one more time. There you are. And share. All right. So this is the worksheet that I use. Now, it's funny when I had to work with my first investor, I had to go back to my real estate manual, the book they taught me with, and I had to remember a simple formula. Sure, I can get this. I had right, and it's right here. Matter of fact, I actually put it into my spreadsheet so I remember what the hell I was talking about. Made over paid. That's your return on investment. So when you're talking about a fix and flip, when you got an investor who wants to spend money, you have to consider a lot, right? So the made over paid. What did I make? And when you think about what you made, it's not what you sold it for. It's the profit. So in this particular instance, as an example, I was doing up some rough estimates. There's actually a link in here for repairs. It goes to a website. I got some numbers from that. But my recommendation to an investor is have somebody who's really have a contractor or a GC, somebody that can go in, go through the house with you, and get an estimate on all the work that has to be done. So in this particular instance, we had a house on the market for $58,000. This was going to be cash, so the closing costs were going to be minimal. You're not paying, closing costs for a lender or anything like that. If your investor's working with a lender, then they're going to incur those costs too, right? Loan origination fees and all that wonderful stuff. But you can always do a seller's net sheet for your customer and get some, better numbers based on, what you have together. And then you got to consider what's typical in a fix and flip, right? Well, you might have to redo the kitchen. A lot of things you can do to, and this, by the way, is probably, in my experience, what I was looking through is probably one of the biggest expenses. And it's where they put the most amount of money and effort because that's kind of like the face of the house. Everybody looks at the kitchen. But this could range anywhere from, actually this to $60,000. And most fix and flips, you don't want to do that. You want to keep it at a minimum. So a lot of contractors will go in and say, well, you know what, we can put new doors on, we can reface the cabinets, we can, keep the cabinetry, reface it, put new counters. I mean, there's a lot of things they can do to save money. Bathrooms, 99 times out of 100, probably 100 times out of 100 on a fix and flip, the bathroom's going to have to be redone. I'm sure this is low, depending on how much effort needs to be put in. Maybe you're saving the porcelain and just, putting new tile and whatnot. Windows, and it's really up to the investor. As a realtor, you'll get more experience. You've probably shown some houses that were built in the 40s and 50s, just the block Florida homes, and they still got the old single pane, thin glass awning windows. They don't replace them. They do all this wonderful work, and they got these cheap ass windows, which are not energy efficient at all. The roof, what condition is the roof? Roof and AC, when you're looking at a house, buyers will almost always ask out of the gate, is it a new roof? Is it a new AC? And you get value back on that. No problem. Down here in Florida, absolutely. Electrical. If you're working with investors, this is something I see all the time. Do it up front. A lot of times people, they have the old aluminum wiring, and what they'll do is they'll pull the 2-prong outlets out of the wall and they replace them with a 3-prong outlet, which is totally useless because there's no ground. And when that's going to come out of inspection, they're going to ask for, everything to be grounded. So just do it up front. And if you can't afford it, put copper in. That's harder. But you got to work with that. Paint, paint indoors, outdoors, walls, ceilings, chances are you're going to need a fresh coat of paint. Floors may have to be redone at the very least. You're looking at scrubbing and cleaning the grout on a tile floor, stuff like that. And then miscellaneous. And one of the things I do when I'm talking to an investor, I ask them, well, what are they looking for a return on their investment? What's your ROI? And they're like, oh, I don't know. What do you mean? It's like and some investors will they already know, right? So you got to know your costs going in. Everything I have in blue here is these are things that I will edit and change. Like, if there's only one bathroom, then you're only editing one, and that's fine. If you've got 2 bathrooms or 3, then you could be increasing your budget that way. Purchase price $58,000. So I went and did comps on it. What's the best we could get for this, right? And I'm looking at homes similar to this, all fixed up, all pertified, and they were in like the $30,000 to $40,000 range. So I'm throwing in. I said, okay, about $135,000 we could put it back on the market for, all prettied up, and then 6% for closing costs and all of that stuff. So. And that's just an estimate. Again, you could do, once you get some final numbers, you could do a seller's net sheet and buyer's net sheet and work all that out. This includes, by the way, your commission. So all that to be said, you've got total costs, all of this and this all add up to, and this is the cost too, $260. So that's all in. That's the purchase price, closing costs, fees, anything else that you incur, including legal fees to clear up the title if you've got issues going on there. Anything else that incurs that you want to make sure you get your money back on. This is rudimentary. This is just the basics. But this gives us as real estate agents enough intelligence to talk intelligently to an investor. When you ask them about return on investment, what's your budget? You want to spend $60,000 on a house. Are you willing to put $60,000 in repairs and be able to look at things and have that conversation, and then do the math? Well, if you do the math, simple formula, your costs, if you're selling it for $135, your profit is $10,740. That's how it works out. And all the little formulas are in here. See right up there. So your cost is there. So your return on investment is about 8%. Now, most people would consider a return on investment at 8% pretty decent. Some people might not. I know I've worked with investors for fix and flip. They want quick cash. They want to maximize their profits. 10 grand might sound pretty good. Some of them might be happy with that. It's like, I'm pulling 10 grand out of all of this. I'm going to profit. I'm happy with that. And that works out to about 8%. That's fine. If some people have kind of a magic number in their mind, things that they're going to want to adjust the budget to and that kind of thing, it could be more like 10, 12, 18%. You don't know. One of the things I like to do when I talk to my investors, I ask them, I said, do you put in margin? For instance, if an investor wants to make 10%, they really try to aim for 15% in their budgeting, because once you tear into a house, you never know what you're going to find. Polybutylene piping, oh crap, are we going to roll the dice and see if we can sell it with that? Or are we just going to replace it all? Maybe you rip out a wall and realize that there's termite damage. You would hope that through a thorough inspection, plus your walkthrough with your contractor, that you're going to uncover just about anything there is to uncover. But you got to take those into account. The other thing too is if you're in a home out in the country, you got to consider well and septic too. So all of these kind of add up. But this is a conversation you have with your investor. Most of them already know what they want, but at least you can understand what they want and how to get there. Oh, well, here's your cost. Here are all of the, here's what you consider putting in. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah, well, they might come in with, don't forget appliances, right? Which I would include that as part of kitchen, but that's okay. And that way you're having a good conversation. All right. This is it. I mean, made over paid. This is everything. And that takes that little simple formula out of the real estate manual that we went to class for. And I had to revisit it too when I was going for brokers. So it's kind of cool. Any questions, comments, experiences you want to share? Anything?
Alan, how did you get that 124? How did that number come, 124?
So total cost, I'll do this. So total cost added up is that one, and that one, and that one. So if you select all of these, because these are all out-of-pocket expenses, whether it's cost of sale or cost of purchase and remodel, if you look down here, all of them selected add up to 124,260. So all of those pink squares add up to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Any cost, any cost. This is your selling price, and then your profit is the difference.
Pretty perfect. Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
And you can play with this too. Like for instance, if you do, for instance, windows, maybe it's $350 or $400 a window. Well, you can do it that way and just say, you know what, I got 10 windows. So and then it just works with the total bar here. So you can edit these numbers, and then it just keeps a tally. One AC, bigger homes. You don't generally fix and flip bigger home, but some larger homes will have 2 air conditioners. Anyway, yes. Any other questions?
Will you send us the spreadsheet?
Yes,
or put it in the chat?
Yeah, it will upload very shortly. All right, so that is, I'm going to save it with these little boxes highlighted here in pink, so you can see that. All the things I do when I create my create my sheets, all the things in light blue are things that I would normally just edit. Everything in black print is the result of something or some kind of a fixed amount. So I only edit what's in blue. This is just a starting point for you. Take this and run with it.
How did you get the paint at $3 grand?
$3 grand. So let me see if I can pull this up. I click on repairs. So I found this neat little site, and you know what? Maybe you have a different resource, but Home Advisor has this, what they call the true cost guide. And you go down here and they have projects. So paint a home exterior. Boom. And it will go in here and tell you what the national average is, anywhere from $1,700 to $4,000. But it didn't have interior. It has all these other neat little links too, so you can actually play with it. Average cost to paint siding, stucco, vinyl, all of those things. So it's kind of cool. And you can actually click on get estimate too if you have some, other things that specifically you want to do. Anyway, that little link brings you to the homeadvisor.com website, and I just kind of use that as a rule of thumb. It's just a starting point for me as I'm trying to consider where I'm going, and it gives me talking points. But I always recommend that if I'm working with an investor, that they have somebody that they can go, a professional, and go in and scope it out and actually come out with an estimate. One of the things that may help is I shared this with one of the agents. This was we've done this at the local meet and greets. You might have met them. American Home Services is one of our vendors for doing inspections. And one of the things that they offer is during their inspections, when they find things that they know have to be repaired, like, if there's a bad roof or the AC is shot or something, something's broken, they can actually do work estimates and give you a quote. And then you can use that estimate sheet based, if you're negotiating for a customer, you can say, well, we found these things. These are their estimated costs to fix or replace. And then you can use that as a negotiating tool. It's a pretty good service. You pay a little extra for it. So you pay a little extra for it, but it's nice to know it's there. They also they're the ones that do the video recording and of all of their inspections.
What's your name again, Alan?
Right here. American Home Service. All right. Let's go back. All right. So let's go back to our sheet. Any other questions on this before we move on?
Not a question, but a comment.
Yes, sir.
Just in my recent experience, one thing that's talking to Alan today, he suggested I go in and chat with Nick about the viability of a purchaser getting a loan on my property, based on the fact that a lot of the lower end properties you're going to buy and flip are going to be some manufactured homes, things like that, which do have a lot of restrictions as far as the loans that can be used to purchase those. So I would talk to Nick or a loan originator to determine if it's really viable to flip that property before really advising your client to do so.
Right. And what actually prompted that conversation was when Ben and I were talking, he mentioned that there's a hang up with the title on this and they won't insure part of it. And I says, well, if you can't insure part of a home, lender is not going to lend on it if you can't get title insurance for it. So that's going to cause a problem. Not for the buyer. Buyer's going to go in and pay cash at whatever, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and he'll do all the fixings. But when he goes to sell it, that's when it's going to burn him. And he's got to clear that up. You want to make sure if you're buying a piece of property, you get a clean and clear title. Sometimes those properties are cheap for a reason. And it turns out that, Ben did his homework, called the listing agent because there was a history. You look at a property, you can see the history. Been on and off the market a couple of times. And while they discovered during being under contract on one particular instance that there was a hang up. Part of the manufactured home that they build off of, they can't find a VIN number. And so they can't clear it. They don't have any traceability. So, yeah. So they're going to have attorneys involved, trying to clean the title. Oh, by the way, you would add that to your expenses. So miscellaneous now becomes attorney's fees. Whatever.
And I don't know if can you hear me?
Unfortunately, yeah. Hi, Riz.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
So just an experience to share with. I have done about, I think, 6 or 7 flips. And I've worked a lot with investors. My magic number was 40,000 on each flip. I did anywhere from 30 to 50 on every flip.
So you're talking about the profit, Riz? The profit
Yes.
would be 30 to 40,000?
Yes, I was targeting 40 for every property. I had read somewhere that that's the magic number, so that was what my target was, and I did from 30 to 50 on each property. The problem right now is to get those properties. I normally bought them in an area where I know that if I try and fix the place and when I go home at night, it's safe. Nobody breaks in a vacant home and steals the tools and messes up the house.
Right.
So right now I haven't done it for some time because I just can't find properties that you can flip and make some money anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. Is there anyone in the group here who has any experience in buying homes from the courthouse? I've tried doing that. There are some issues that I can't figure out, or some of the expenses that you have to pay to do some research work on the title search for the house before you buy them. Anybody here can share any experience?
Sorry, Rizwan.
No. Okay.
I mean, like tax
But
deeds?
flipping is good. If you can get a good home to flip, fix it and flip, you can make good money.
Yeah. So to that note, when you're talking about other resources other than just looking for, something on the MLS, you're looking for REOs, short sales, stuff like that, if you can get them. And but outside resources, I had one agent come in. He was pricing a property. He came in. He said, "Can you help me with this? I'm looking at it." And he told me the address and the price was like 69,000. When I went on the MLS, I found it's pending, and it was sold for 58 or 59, something like that. So I call him up. I says, "This is pending." I says, "Your wholesaler, it sounds like what he's doing is he's buying them cheap, upping them 5 or 10 grand,
Yes.
right? Selling the paper. That's a good way to make money. Just buy the house, get it under contract, don't do anything, and just jack it up a few $1,000s, just enough to pay. You're paying for closing costs and all that stuff, and then you're just turning it over. And whether it's assignable, he's assigning the paper, so which means he never will have to actually go to a closing table. He just assigns it over, or he holds on to it and finds another buyer.
Well, there are some sellers who do not allow assignable contracts. The simple reason is that if it's not sold by the closing date, then this person can get out. The person who is on the contract can get out.
Yeah.
And a seller would not agree unless it's a very bad property that has been on the market for 10 years, then yeah, maybe somebody would do that. But if you go and look for properties in a good area, a good neighborhood where you can fix it and flip it right away, those are normally not assignable.
Right.
So
Now also you'll get some investors that will go ahead and they'll take out a loan with the anticipation of selling it rather quickly. If it's an FHA, Rizwan, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's an FHA, the seller can't turn around and sell it for, is it 90 days?
Yes.
I think it's, I'm not sure. I think it's 90.
Yeah.
Right. I think
So
it's
you get an investor says, "You know what, I'm going to go ahead and finance this one. I got a deal on a great loan," especially now, right? You can buy anything. You get an FHA. You can go into an FHA with a 203K. It's called an FHA 203K. It's also known as an FHA fixer-upper. So you can actually go in with a purchase and then finance all the repairs. And that's something you'd want to talk to a lender too. And that's also valuable for your investor to know that they could finance. They would have to get professional quotes and everything, put it all together, and they could actually finance the repairs and upgrades. Like for instance, if you go into you could buy a house and the kitchen's just old, but it's functional. We call it, what is it, obsolescence, right? So if it's functionally obsolescence, then now you can actually get a quote to upgrade the kitchen and build it into your FHA loan. That's kind of a handy little thing to have in your back pocket if you get an investor shy on a little cash, especially when you're looking at all these estimated costs.
Yeah, there are investors loan. I mean, flip loans out there. Or hard money. The only problem is that it is a bit expensive, so you're adding to your cost.
Right.
And obviously, in order to make more money, you have to try and keep the cost down as much as possible. So yeah, it's an idea too. Sure.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Rizwan, for that. That's why I like these. This is collaborative. I don't know everything. This is just stuff that, you know, I've used in the past, but I'm just one guy and I haven't experienced everything there is out there. Rizwan, we've got people that are working with investors right now. Is it okay if I give you their phone number and have them give you a call if they need a little expertise?
Sure. I think I've spoken to Ben before once.
Way to go, Ben.
I think he did my open house for me, isn't it, Ben? I don't know.
All
Is it still there?
Yeah, he's there. He's
Yeah. He had done my open house for me once.
Yep.
nice, nice. All right. All right. So we're going to leave here, go to the next screen, rentals. This is the other formula that they teach in the book. IRV. Everybody, show of hands. Everybody remember IRV?
Yes.
I over RV. And so this is kind of how it works out. Again, this is something I just kind of threw together, and I've used this off and on for the last couple of years. You know, in this particular instance, it might be a single home. What I have here is in blue, is editable. And so here we have a home that's rented for $2,800 a month. So one unit comes out across. There's your, you know, basically it's that times 12. And your EGI, if you're doing an estimate for an investor, 8%, 8%, right? So it means that the house is at least occupied 11 out of the 12 months. It's just a rule of thumb, but that may vary. If you want them 100%, that's what you want. And you tend to get that on the long-term rentals anyway. So you're fine. When you get into multiple units and you're dealing with, you know, apartments that have to be, you know, they emptied out, you got to go and rip everything out every time somebody leaves. That works a little different. But here, you know, you got to, what do you have to consider? HOA fees, taxes, insurance. By the way, I didn't pull these off of a property. This was, I don't even remember where these numbers came from. But when you add them all up, all your expenses, your total operating costs, right? That's what you come up with, your $14,000. So what's left? Well, ends up being your net operating income. So what I have here in blue is, well, the sale price on this single family home is $299. That gives me a 6% cap rate. And then down here, I got to play with numbers. Well, what if I wanted a higher cap rate? Would I offer less? Well, no one's going to take 185, but you could say, well, what if I was getting 7%? I could offer 238. To get a 7% cap rate on what I'm looking for. This works in reverse too, by the way. So if you're working with somebody and they want to know what to sell their house for, and you're talking to them and saying, you know what, investors for the long term for rentals, they want to see between 6 and 8%. In general, that may have changed over the last year or two, but I don't think so, because you're not going to go anywhere, put your money long term, and earn 6% annual interest on it. Not going to do it. So anyway, your cap rate, you can play with that either way once you get these numbers. Maintenance, lawn, pest control, repairs, landscaping, other capital considerations that you need to consider when investing are, appliances, interior, roof exterior. These are things that you have to wear and tear on the house, right? Windows, HVAC, keep a reserve for issues like that. Section 8 renters, apparently that's actually a pretty good deal. And then, any kind of notes you have. Oh, and make sure you do your due diligence on the property. Any arrears, any liens, tax-wise, mechanics, anything like that, check it out. Here, I just kind of took the same thing, worked it a little differently. It's interesting. If you go, you can actually look for income property. And a lot of times they will actually give you the numbers, which is kind of cool. It's like, okay, so their operating cost is, X, and the NOI, they'll actually tell you we make 140,000 a year. I'm like, well, okay, but they're selling it for, 1.2 mil. That's a 12% cap rate. That's pretty good. And, again, I put the ability here to play with the cap rates, but, it works differently. I did something recently with this, and let me shrink that down. I was doing, where are you? I was doing a cap analysis for a potential customer, and I ended up doing, I think that's probably what the old numbers I was using. I ended up doing a report. Let me just, I ended up doing a report, and this was the report I put together based on numbers I had pulled together. And so I did a report, and I could print it up. This was the investor, some information. Particular property he was looking at was, anywhere from $600 to $700 a month, depending on what they wanted to rent it for, what was competitive for that area. And then I just came up with this little chart. Here was my target area, 7 to 9%. And so we came up with, some numbers, and I was able to give this to him and help him out. Any questions on this? This is the same. It's the same formula. It's just I over RV. And then how do you want to work it? Which different way? Because sometimes you can just plug in the numbers directly, and you can determine what the cap rate's going to be and let your investor know, well, that's not a bad rate of return for your investment. So questions, comments? Riz, have you worked with renters too?
Yes, I have. Basically, whatever I see on the chart here that you've put, yes, those are the expenses that required. Maintenance, yeah, well, depending on how old the unit is, but this is a good number to keep. Yes. Yes, and I think the right now the magic number for investors is anywhere from 6 to 8% returns on small apartments or other condos and townhouses are much more better to work with rather than single family homes. You have to worry about the yard, you have to worry about the pool, which you don't have to worry in townhouses. But then, yes, there is a maintenance fee that you're paying every month, but it is still easier to manage those for a landlord rather than a single family home. And yes, I do work with investors all the time. Right now, buying is less because you don't get deals anymore. But the investors that I work with all look for deals. I mean, everybody looks for deals. So yes, I have worked with, and I'm still working with investors who buy and rent them. Not too many right now, but yes, I have.
Nice. All right. Any other questions or comments? Oh, hold on. Computer. Desktop. And it's uploading now. It's taking a moment. So I'm sending it up now, the file. You guys can grab it and download it before we, there we go, investor sheet. Grab it, download it to your computer or your phone, and play with it. Honestly, like most investors do know what they want already. They've done their homework. We know that even buyers and sellers are more educated now than they ever were, thanks to Google. So we want to be educated. So, keep this in mind, go through the terminology, understand, you know, even for yourself, at some point, let's say you had the opportunity, you know, you've done good, you've got a lot of commission, you got a ton of money in your ops account, and an opportunity comes along for yourself. Now you at least know the guidelines that you want to use and develop to do your own property, do your own fix and flips. So this is as useful for you as it would be for your customer. I don't show any of this to my customer. This is just knowledge for me when I'm having a conversation and presenting, comparative analysis on homes. Look, if you're going to fix this up, you're going to sell it. This is the most you're going to get for this home in this neighborhood. It's comps. You can't go past it. It's a limit. So that's why I tell people, it's like, you could put gold toilets in your house. That doesn't mean you're going to get money back for them. So there you go.
Alan, I have a question.
Okay.
I am right now working with an investor from New York. He has like two things on mind. So we are looking at properties under 200K for him to rent, either like a regular rent or maybe Airbnb sometime when things get back to normal. That is
So short-term versus long-term rental?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other he wants to invest is in fix and flip properties. So I checked some of the properties in Central Florida. I sent him a few. They weren't really what he wanted. So we've been looking at Merritt Island, Titusville, Cocoa Beach. He also wants to check a few in Jacksonville. Now, I don't know how can I check the Jacksonville market, or how can I be more updated myself on what are the areas that I can recommend either for a Tampa or a Titusville market. I am not sure on that.
So he wants to buy a property and do short-term rentals.
Yeah, so one is a property to do short-term rentals, and the other investment he wants to do is a fix and flip.
Okay. So Central Florida, I'd steer him back here because I think there's a lot of opportunities here. Some of us have been involved in the vacation home packages that we put together some time ago. We're actually updating all that stuff now. But there are townhomes in that price range, in the like low to high hundreds, fully furnished on a townhome that he could use for short-term rental. Right? So now you've got a townhome that got a management company to manage and market for you. And it's in a place where, you've got pool, spa, health club, and other amenities on the site. So that's another attractive feature, right? If he's going to do it a vacation property for short-term rentals, you don't want it to be bland. You want to be able to give them a good experience. And so there's lots of places that offer that down in the Four Corners area. Christina works a lot with Zenodro Homes.
Yes.
You can register your client with them, get them all the material, have them look it over. It's probably Zenodro's in the, what are we, high twos, low threes?
High twos, it's 250 to 300.
Yeah, high twos, low threes, and then you got to furnish it. If you buy a pre-owned vacation property, they sell them furnished. And now you're looking at, they're getting into a furnished place for the low to high hundreds.
I actually did send him a few 3-bed, 2.5 bath townhomes, which were fully furnished. Some in Kissimmee, Davenport, and like within these 4 or 5 counties in Central Florida. He has liked a few of them, but typically for fix and flip, I have never done that. So it's hard for me to recommend any specific area. I mean, Central Florida, I can still do. But
some of the things that we were just talking about here with Rizwan, resources, right? When you're doing searches, you obviously want to search for you're looking for distressed properties. So you're probably searching under $100,000, and you're looking for REOs, right? Bank-owned properties. You're looking for distressed. You have to hunt short sale. You want to look for short sales. You can get some really good deals there too. So You just got to keep, it's kind of a daily effort because you never know what's going to pop up. And it's something I haven't looked into. You could probably do some discovery on your own. There are some wholesalers out there that will buy properties and hold the paper and, move them along. And you get good deals there too.
Also, sorry, go ahead.
So one of the things I was going to say, and I'll let you cut in a minute, Riz, strategy. So one of the agents I talked with a week or so ago, every time he went to make a decision, the house was gone. So if you go see a house and you think, you know what, it's possible, it has possibilities, you just don't know yet, get it under contract. Get it under contract, get yourself a 10 to 15 day inspection period, and that gives you the 10 to 15 days to go through it and make sure it is a good idea. That gives you the time to do the estimates, run the numbers, and then decide during that cancellation period if you want to move forward or not. Get it under contract. Otherwise, it'll be gone. And that's the big problem I hear from a lot of people. Well, I was gonna do this and I waited a day. Don't. If you go see a house, you think this is a possibility, get it under contract. You can always cancel during that cancellation period. Now, you're going to have some people are going to say, well, this is not subject. They will not consider an offer subject to inspection, and walk away. Walk away. I've seen those. Alan, what do I do here? Get the hell out. If they won't let an inspector come through, even give you 5 days, don't even touch it. So all that to be said, Rizwan.
Also, something to keep in mind is that there are some counties and some communities, subdivisions, don't allow short-term rentals. So Airbnb will not work. Very important to understand that and to have your investor understand that. The second thing is that if you are going to be managing, let's say you flip a house to flip, if you are going to be managing the renovations, if it's very far away from where you live, it will be very hard for you to go there every day and supervise, the renovations. And these people who are renovating, believe me, they do need supervisions. If you don't go there every day and look what they're doing, they are going to really, I don't want to use the word screw you up, but they will screw you up. So you got to be very careful. I have had such experience, and I try to buy properties where I can go around where I live and where my office is. I tried, so this way, if there's emergencies, I can go there. Typically, I'll give you an example of one flip we were doing, one renovation. He took out the cabinet in the kitchen and he saw mold and he froze. The carpenter. He got, oh, this is mold. I can't touch it. So I had to run out there, look at what the problem was, go and find somebody who does this, takes out mold and all that stuff. So it will be very difficult for you because somebody who is out of state wants to buy a flip is probably expecting you to manage his renovations for him.
So Rizwan, do you charge extra for? So you're basically, for some of your customers, you act as a project manager. Is that correct?
Well, I deal a lot with foreign investors, and
value-added service.
Yeah, and I've never charged them service for that, but then I know that they become my loyal customers.
Yeah. Okay.
But, after a while, you find out there is no loyalty in life, but it does happen. So.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Rizwan. So Rizwan, what do you recommend? How can I handle this particular client? Because I've never done this before.
Look for something that is around where it's convenient for you to drive around. Okay. I'm sure maybe you can ask him this question. Do you have anybody who's going to manage the renovations for you? If he's expecting you to do it, then you need to do it where you can do it because, at the most you probably make about 5 or 10% from whatever you have spent on renovations. But at the same time, you need to do your business as well. You sell properties as well. So you got to be careful about that.
Yeah, that's a very important point.
Do it where you are. Simple.
If he's looking in Jacksonville area, would you, Alan, recommend that Yevgeny does a referral and gets paid that way.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. Do some research, find somebody you know up in that area, and yeah, do a referral agreement so that they're showing homes up there. That still doesn't mean they won't buy down here. If you want to do some initial research, you know what? I've never looked at investment properties on the MLS Advantage. So there's the that's the research lets us look at properties statewide. And so you can do some preliminary research there. If you find something, and call the listing agent because the information will be there. And call the listing agent, strike up a conversation with them and say, look, I may have a referral who might be interested in this property. Because we'll have to try this out, Yogini. But basically, if you can find some properties through MLS Advantage, we'll try that out. Get the listing agent, and then he'll be happy because basically he's working with a client who ended up buying his property and he's getting both sides. He'll be happy to give you 30%.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
normally when you have a fix and flip, the investor will typically tell you, I mean, you send him an MLS link and say, okay, this is the house I would suggest you to buy, and we can fix it and flip it and sell it for whatever. Normally, the investor will tell you, why don't you go and see the house and tell me what the expenses are? And if you're doing one flip in Jacksonville and you're in Orlando, for you to drive out there just to see how much the cost is.
Right.
Now, if you do send a realtor there out there who just wants to make the sale, he's going to downplay the renovations for you. So he can get commission. You have to be honest about this. You have to be honest with your investor that, hey, this is going to cost $30,000 or $50,000. Then after we flip it, you probably are going to make whatever 10 or 15,000. But if you send an agent out there who's not an honest agent, who's going to tell you, okay, the renovation is only 15,000 according to me, and then there'll be a surprise at the end of the day, and that's a problem. You want to have this investor happy so he does more with you, flips with you. So just be careful about that.
Right. Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Rizwan.
So Rizwan, do you have a relationship with a contractor so that you can actually do those services for your clients?
Well, I have a team of maintenance people and contractors that I know that I send out, and I normally get the bids on them. Wherever there is a licensed contract required, then I look for one. But otherwise, the flips that I've done, except for one, which was a major flip, I haven't had any problems. And yes, I have maintenance people who go out there and price it and work for me on it. So you have to build that relationship. You have to. And you have to know what they're charging. You have to know what the cost. I mean, there'll be a maintenance guy. I mean, a contractor who go and ask you for a simple project for $10,000, and somebody else will go and charge you $6,000 for it. So you have to know. You have to have that estimate within you that, hey, this should cost about between 5 and 7. So if you get a contractor who is going to be charging that, then you're fine. And if somebody charges 10, then you know the guy is trying to rip you off. So that's important. That comes with experience. I'm sure after 1 or 2 flips, you'll have this experience, and then you can come and give us a presentation here.
That's very sweet of you, Rizwan. You're being very optimistic.
Yeah,
I'll try my best. Yeah.
Seriously, it's a good thing to do. I've been a realtor for 20 years. Out of that, I think out of 10 or 12 years, I've been with the Mary team. I've done business. I've done investors. I've done principal homes. I've done fix and flips. So I've experienced in all of them, and I'm pretty good with with estimates that they give. I find, if somebody's trying to rip me off, I'll tell him, thank you, but no, thank you. I'll get back to you. And then I just call somebody else. So you'll get that experience. It's the first flip I did, I was nervous as hell. I did my own flip and I was so nervous, it was my wife who kept on pushing me. Yes, do it. I think we'll make money on this. And we did. And after that, I did quite a few of them. So, and these flips were, by the way, all mine that I did, except for a couple for my investors. So you should be fine.
Nice. Nice, Rizwan. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Rizwan,
Rizwan.
what's the
Nice
period?
information.
Sorry.
Sorry.
What's the period from when you find a flip home to once it's done, roughly?
It depends on the flip. It depends on how much work you have to do. There are some that, I did it within a month. There was one project that it took us almost 7 months. But then, I found out the mistake that we did there. Of course, you learn from your mistakes. I found out what the mistake was. Basically, I hired a contractor to do this stuff, and we had an agreement that at the end of the, when this is done, this is how much you get paid. The problem is that he needed money, and he never came to me asking to get paid. I mean, I could have paid 10% or 20%. He never did that. What he did was started taking work somewhere else because he had to pay his rent. And that's why it took 7 months. And, the investors started flipping on me and getting upset. And then one day I called the contractor in my office. I said, what's going on? This is taking 7 months. We agreed that you'll do it in 3 months. And that's when he told me that, hey, I need money to pay my bills. So why bloody hell did you come to me? I could have paid you. So this is all after experience. This is all you learn from, your mistakes. So that was a mistake. I could have gone to him and I said, you know what? Here's 10%. So let's get this done. Here's another 10%. But
Oh,
so
I
it
have
takes
one
any time,
question.
anywhere between a month, I should say, to uh, to 4 or 5 months.
So Rizwan, we'd rather learn from your mistake.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I still have a question, Rizwan. How do you find, how do you know this is the right flip or, the potential flip that will yield you that 30, 40,000 magic number? How do you know that?
Right now, it's pretty hard to find something that you can, because there are a lot of there are a lot of flippers out there, and they
Okay.
do tend to bid, and after a while find out that they're not making money on it, because you have to put realtors commission in this. You have to put the fact that this property is on the market, is going to be staying for about 4 or 5 months. You have to pay the HOA on it. You have to pay the taxes on it. You have to pay the electricity on it. So at the end of the day, you have to consider all that to find out if you are still going to make money. So that is very important. And when you do flip, if the first flip is a disaster, you get discouraged. That the next one, you are more afraid of doing it. But if you make money in the first flip, then you're encouraged that, hey, you know what, I can do this. So you have to be very careful in flip. The first flip that you do, it has to make some money or at least break even by the time you're out. This includes all the expenses. The fact that it's yours, or it's the investor's property for 3 months, you have to include all the expenses in there.
Right.
So right now it's hard to find, very difficult to find properties that are in good areas, good neighborhood, that you can flip it and sell it right away at a reasonable price where you can make some money. So I have not done any flip for almost about 8 or 9 months now because I can't find anything. So I'm back to normal, a regular realtor right now. So.
So Rizwan, if you found a deal and you thought you could make 20,000 off of it, you wouldn't touch it?
In this market, maybe yes. I haven't done it at 20. I just don't feel all the work that you put in, it's worth making 20, because you could go and sell out 4 houses and make 20,000 commission. And those are more easier than flips. But I personally like flips, but I try and make at least a minimum of 30. And then, sometimes if it does turn out to be bad luck, that I didn't realize that something behind the wall was messed up, and now I have to spend another 3,000 or 4,000 on it, that's different. That's just bad luck. But my first flip, the idea was as long as I break even, I'm fine. But I made money on it, so that encouraged me. And you know, and thank God from then onwards, every flip that I've done, I've made money. So
Excellent. Excellent.
that's why my wife is still with me. She's definitely gonna leave me now.
Well, what is it? I don't know if anyone knows Red Green. He's a comedian out of Canada, but he used to do these shows on public TV. And he always had a saying, man, if they can't find you handsome, at least let them find you handy.
That's true.
But you're both,
Hey, Alan,
I know that. What?
I have a quick question.
Yes, Christiana.
On a personal rental, can I use the dot loop lease agreement, or do I have to, or is there a different one that's better for a personal property?
No, you can use the dot loop lease agreement.
Well, it has the brokerage name there. Would that matter? You have to
Well,
put the brokerage name.
yeah, because but that's okay, because you're your own, you're drawing it up as a real estate agent. And
Okay,
you know, when you look at it, sheet one is, hey, I'm not an attorney, just so everybody knows, right? It's that disclosure that I'm filling this out, but I am not an attorney. But yeah, you can use that. It's a good lease agreement.
okay, which one is this? The CL4? Because there's a couple of them there.
Well,
The
I don't have it in
contract,
front of me, Christiana, but
okay,
we'll have to take it offline. I'll follow up with you.
okay, because there's a couple of them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Riz-
All right.
I have one last question for Rizwan. Rizwan, I'm sorry, too many questions for
Yeah,
you.
I'm not sorry. You keep-
But but when you invest
Alan
in a
is
flip,
paying me for this. Alan is paying me for this. He's gonna buy
Alan is
me lunch
paying
with
you.
my money.
I'm
10
buying you
years
lunch,
now.
Riz. I'm buying you lunch. That's what you get.
He's paying
You're
me
gonna actually
also
come
for
into the
asking
office and
questions.
get it. Go ahead, Yogini.
So when you invest in a flip, is it always a cash purchase, or is there like a financing available for flip, like a investing and renovation financing available?
So financing is available. You first and foremost, you do try and flip it with cash, because you have to add that expense, the loan expense, the closing cost, because when you mortgage a house, you're almost paying about between anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, just the mortgage fee or the loan expense. So obviously you have to factor that in. So we try and make and keep it cash. If we can't, then yes, we will take money for some time. If it's only while the renovation is going on and flip it, then it's normally a hard money lender. And if you do plan to fix it and then rent it out, then yes, it's a regular mortgage.
Okay.
I hope
Thank you,
that
Rizwan.
answers your question.
Yep, pretty much. Yes. Thank you, Rizwan. Thank you.
Alan, can you post the other sheet you put up
No.
on
No, that's
the one about all the different rates,
no.
please?
Let me make sure I got the right one. Oh, I think I deleted it by accident. Oh no.
Good one.
Oh,
301.
yeah.
301. It's taken us an hour. Normal
It's
hour.
Alan's.
joking.
It's Alan's proprietary sheet. We have to pay him to get the sheet.
Right. Alan pays me the big bucks. Hold on.
Fountain of all knowledge.
Not really. Riz wants the star of the show here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
The
Riz
investor
is
one, it
probably
is
thinking,
Rizwan.
hey, I might be able to learn something. And you know what?
So now it's probably 2 lunches, guy. 2 lunches.
Two lunches.
So what sheets does Rizwan use? Does he want to post his sheets?
I made one. I actually start an Excel sheet every time I do a flip. So initially I'll come in, I'll put the purchase price, and I'll put all the expense. I mean, here's the thing. The way I work is I will look at the home and I'll see what the price is. And then I look in the neighborhood and see, I do the comps. If I feel that I'm going to be making $50,000, $60,000, I will go and see the house. This is minus the renovations first. If I see that something is selling less than the market price, I'll go in and I'll see the renovations. I'll come back and then I will start and I'll put it in the Excel sheet, what Alan has done, all the estimated expenses that I think, purchase price, and then I will put on the side the selling price. And then every time I do expenses, I will come and I will record it in that Excel sheet.
Do
And
actuals.
at the end of the term, when it's ready to sell, obviously I will put it in the market and I will sell it, and then I will go back and see if I have made money or not.
Now,
Or how much I've made, basically.
Rizwan, and you pay taxes on the profit, right?
Oh yeah, obviously we
Yeah.
have to record it.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's no getting around when you're doing investment properties. There's no.
So there's no, unless you do a 1031 exchange, I think, but those are very tough with residential. So,
Right, right.
Within 45 days, I think you have to buy another one, alike or more pricier. And when doing flip, there is no guarantee that you're going to find one within a week or within a month or within 6 months. So I've been looking for a flip for almost 8 months now. I just can't find the right property.
The right one.
So I think I found one which was a nice investment home, and I called one of my investors and she bought it. So
Nice. All right, everyone. That does our hour. That was a full hour, not like 20 minutes. Thanks for the conversation, and we had a good turnout today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This is recorded, and I probably have a couple of people that couldn't make it, but they wanted to. So if anyone reaches out to me, I'll send you the link to this recording.
Thank you.
But it's an hour, so give me some time to process it. Takes a while.
and then maybe next week we could have a think tank on how to get leads,
Oh, we're working on that. Yes,
what companies to use, and all that.
we'll invite Carlos to that one.
Besides
Carlos
Google.
Miro.
I'm sorry.
We'll invite Carlos to that.
Okay.
That would be good. All right. Leads.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll work on the lead thing. So, okay. Before we close out, Christiana, give me a few minutes and we'll connect before the end of the day on your leads.
Thank you.
What you're looking for. And hey, you know what? If anyone else needs anything other than Yogini, then feel free to call me.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Alan.
All right, you're welcome. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye.